First of all, I want to say good afternoon to Jessica Quintana, the Executive Director of Centro CHA here in Long Beach. How are you?
Good afternoon. Hi, Antonio.
So tell us what the state of Centro CHA is during these COVID times, because, well, first of all, how are you and the organization coping?
Well, so far, the organization, we, definitely did not stop our services. We slowed them down, during this time. We serve high need community members. And so for us, it was really how do we pivot during this time and provide workforce development and immigration services during this time. So how the organization needed to address that was how do we get on the social media platform and engage our clients and be able to still help them with their immigration applications? How do we help our workforce clients, with their job training and job assistance? And then, during, this time, so many people, I think we had over 60,000 people lose their jobs in the area, Long Beach and in the surrounding area. So it was like, there was so many people that just really couldn't even navigate the employment system. So the organization, really found themselves helping a lot of people with doing their unemployment applications. As you can imagine, in the Latino community, we have the highest number of folks that are working in the service restaurant industries,
Right.
whose jobs were lost during this COVID time, and who really needed that support to connect to UI benefits. And then, the actual employment development department had issues themselves because their whole system just crashed.
Yeah.
And so, so it was, during that time, I'm telling you, we were doing the rapid COVID relief, which, thank goodness the Long Beach Community Foundation came in and provided funding for residents to be able to get emergency rental assistance, emergency food assistance. There was relief funds coming from our California Community Foundation, who helped support that as well, because during that interim, a lot of people, just didn't have the means to even buy groceries, to provide protection equipment just for themselves in their own homes.
So did you find, because you sort of brought this up, is that, aside from the regular things that you do, that you had to suddenly take on new responsibilities?
Absolutely, Antonio. Besides the things that we do with our regular services, doing workforce development and immigration services, we found ourselves as a rooted lead Latino organization is helping to connect our families who are most hit by COVID with rapid COVID relief, with helping with what is COVID, what is the education, where do you go get tested, where do you get any type of assistance during this time? Well, folks, we're not having any access or any connection to, any type of resources for grocery, for food, for PPE, any type of education or health information.
I was kind of curious about that because, you look at English media, and so there's a lot of stuff in English, but was there a lot of stuff in Spanish and other languages?
There was some stuff in Spanish. Unfortunately, it doesn't get to the community. We're talking about folks that are in our neighborhoods. They're isolated in these communities from receiving that information. Like, who's taking them that information? How do they get it? Do they go on the media platform and get it? So if they don't have, media or any social media at home, they don't know about it or where to go search for that.
Right.
And then again, it's like, in what literacy is it? Because everybody, just has the notion that if you translate it into Spanish, that's the kind of Spanish that they understand.
Right.
And we all know that that's not true.
Yeah.
So how do you, break it down so people can understand? Because we as English speakers hear what's happening with COVID, and it's even hard for us to decipher what they're saying or what they're talking about.
Right.
So if you can imagine, having to be able to translate that and really give them, the information, and then locally, where can they go get help and services?
So in addition to obviously reaching out and sort of doing what's the word I'm looking for? Just like dealing with COVID, quick action on COVID. What do you think? People still, as you said, people still have problems that need to be met. Um, so, what are the top three issues that you think Centro CHA is seeing every day?
I have to say the top three issues, of course, is economic security.
Mm,
That's huge.
mm,
Economic security, emotional well-being.
mm.
If the Latino community already had challenges of, being well and healthy, and now more than ever, being a community that's highest hit by COVID. Now having the economic insecurity of lack of jobs. Um, you know, I know you attended our economic summit and really know the data and the demographics
Right.
of, the workers and working in those service and manufacturing jobs. Again, there's still, if some of them who lost their jobs, or if they did go back to work, like how safe is it for them to be working in those
Well, I was
conditions?
just going to ask you about that part because that's the part that worries not just me, obviously, but I mean a lot of people. Like for instance, I didn't even realize that there were a lot of meatpacking plants
Yes,
in Vernon.
in the city of
Um,
Vernon.
so, you know, I mean, from what we know, there's a lot of infections that happen in meatpacking plants. Then you've got people who have to get to their jobs. Not
Right,
everybody's got a car,
right.
so they have to travel either by bus or by Blue Line. So, I mean, what kind of feedback were you getting from people who are still having to go to work?
They were scared. We're talking about folks who have, you know, families that have children, that have parents, that have grandparents all in their home. So,
Mm,
so they're having to have the protections of all three generations. And then during COVID, you have these small children at home who now need to be on Zoom. So you could have different children who are at different grade levels,
right,
and
right,
how do you keep them, engaged in their learning, keep them engaged in activities, and keep them safe from COVID? How do you keep the grandparents who are living with the families, safe and well? And now you have the parents who have to go out to these industry jobs who, had no protections, who, some, they're working in the service industry and they're working one-on-one with people, or they're working in the manufacturing industries where they're working side by side in a manufacturing line that
right,
has no protections.
right.
We hear about people who are being infected all the time, working in bakeries, working in manufacturing lines, working in different restaurants, and in cleaning and service. Yeah, it's a challenge, and they're scared, but they're also scared of being homeless because these are the families that are not traditionally homeless.
Right, right. Well, let's take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about economic security, but also talk about the real controversies for those people who are unemployed and the insecurity that they're going to be facing and the potential. There was an article just recently that said the next big pandemic is going to be homelessness,
Right.
evictions. So let's take a break, come back, and we'll continue our conversation with Jessica Quintana on PalacioMagazine.com. Jessica Quintana is Executive Director of Centro CHA, a nonprofit Hispanic Latino human and social service agency in Long Beach. Since 1992, Centro CHA has worked to create a record of service that advances and advocates for the well-being of underrepresented, low-income Latino children, youth, and families. For more information, visit centrocha.org. Again, that's centrocha.org. So we're back with Jessica Quintana, Executive Director of Centro CHA on PalacioMagazine.com. So we're talking about some of the biggest challenges dealing with economic security and insecurity as a result of COVID-19. But one of the things that I just recently saw was because people who are unemployed, well, there's two challenges. One is getting unemployment insurance, particularly with the federal $600 evaporating at the end of July. But the other one is that sooner or later, paying the rent is going to really be a challenge. So I guess the question is, what are you hearing from people? Like people are saying that the next big pandemic is actually going to be evictions because people are going to start losing their jobs if they, I mean, not being able to pay their rent. What are you hearing from people about that whole potential, about paying the rent and about the potential of homelessness?
Well, people are nervous. So as we talk about the emotional, support and having high anxiety, that really plays on a person's health. So it just makes them more vulnerable and to COVID and any other diseases. But people are scared. If you can imagine during this time when COVID hit, a lot of folks who were eligible for unemployment were able to get unemployment, not very quickly. So they needed some help during that time to pay their rent.
Right.
We were helping some folks, but that wasn't everybody. So, there is a lot of people who are, already behind in their rent, months behind, thousands of dollars behind. Long Beach has the highest rent burden. We have the highest, rents here in the city of Long Beach. So if you can imagine how much the rents are for families here, that's, we're talking about anywhere from a 1-bedroom to 2-3 being anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000. So now times that by the number of months since COVID hit and people got unemployed. People are already racked up maybe about $5,000 or $10,000. So I don't know how that's going to look down the road when people start getting evictions and people have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 lien against them that they need to pay back to owners, to landlords. And I don't know how owners of property are going to pay that back to their mortgages.
Yeah.
So no, people have high anxiety, Antonio, and nobody's addressing that. Like, if we already had health problems and anxiety, now it's 10 times that.
Yeah, I'm kind of puzzled by, I mean, I know the problem that we keep getting all these distractions, excuse me, one of being, now we're all reopening, everybody's anxious, everybody wants to go to the beach, everybody wants to go to the bars and the restaurants. But now we're seeing a spike again in infections, which the real possibility that we're probably going to have to shut down again, which I don't even want to be around when that happens because I think a lot of people are going to are just not going to accept that. So if you've got a job that suddenly you shut down, now you've got another issue with probably not a lot of luck going toward unemployment, getting unemployment. I mean, what effect is that going to have on people like your organization, organizations like yourselves, where you're already burdened meeting your responsibilities now? Now suddenly, what if there's another spike and another closure? How does that impact organizations like yourself? I mean, how are you going to deal with it?
Antonio, it's a heavy lift. It really is for our organization, and then being a Latino organization, because we per our mission, of course, we want to meet the needs of our community, but we also have the community are my workers, and so I have to protect the health and safety of my workers.
Right.
We had to immediately, before a lot of other organizations, we know of other organizations who just shut down completely. They shut down. So we couldn't do that. We have constituents who we're responsible to get information to and to get services to. So for the organization, it was a heavy lift, and it's a lot on myself, on my staff, to do this work. But what I have to say is I have such a committed staff to our community members and to the families that, they do whatever they have to do to be able to get services and information out to our community members. So we, had to switch our programs so we can social distance within our own organization, so we can be 6 feet. I had to have immigration team. I had to set up to make sure that everybody had social media to be set up in their homes so they can do the work that they needed to do, and then just shift everybody through the agency. So 2 days out of the week is workforce, 2 days out of the week is immigration. The other day we're doing nothing but support services. We're meeting clients in our parking lot. We opened up our parking lot. We have tents there. Nobody was allowed inside the organization except staff, and staff had to be, masked up. We got temperature reads before they come in here. They're wearing gloves. We're 6 feet apart. And anybody who comes here who needs any type of services, or we need documents signed, as much as we can do DocuSign over on social media, we do. But, a lot has to be hard copy signatures, and then giving checks out for rent for the landlords, because we directly pay the checks to the landlords, giving them food vouchers, grocery gift cards, so they come to the parking lot to pick that up. And we have a tent set up, we have tables, we have 6 feet, so they're 6 feet away from our staff members, and that's how we've been operating. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, that must be. I can't even imagine what it must be like in terms of you run an organization where you have a lot of people-to-people contact, because that's just the nature of the services that you provide.
Yes.
And now suddenly you've got to find a way of we can't really have that kind of contact anymore. And one of the programs that you do is the census.
Yes.
Where is the census in all of this?
So the census in all this has been, we had to learn how to pivot. So what we did is, we started looking at how can we contact already the database that we have of our clients. So if you can imagine, within our immigration services, we see and touch and talk to probably about 1,500 people a year. So out of that 1,500, we process about 800 applications. So these are all, because the organization does fee waivers, they're already low-income clients. So we're doing fee waivers for their application to U.S. Immigration Service. So what we did is we just went based upon all the intakes and assessments that we had, and started phone banking everybody that was in Long Beach, that we knew that were in the hard-to-count area. And this data goes back, like this database that we have goes back about, my lights just went out. I wasn't moving enough. Goes back about 10 years. So, we just started, contacting folks. Have you done your census? Have you done your census? Doing a lot of social media outreach. We work in collaboration with our local city of Long Beach. So we belong to a census committee with Long Beach Forward, with the County of Los Angeles. And so we all get together and strategically plan, how can we do census outreach and education? So one of the things, we've been doing caravans, sending out information. This weekend, actually, we did go out because West Long Beach being the highest undercounted area in all Long Beach of census. And we know because it's a high Latino population, it's a high immigrant population. They have many fears for many reasons. So we went out there this weekend and did a whole caravan. We also brought out, mariachis, and we brought out food, and, just did a whole outreach and education there. I sent you a link to the actual video.
Yeah, the Long Beach Post, I saw that. Okay, let's take a last break, and when we come back, let's talk about the other thing that's happening in this time, as if COVID-19 is not enough. The fights for social justice that are going on right now, and what impact that's having on your organization and in the community that you serve. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Jessica Quintana on PalaciaMagazine.com. Jessica Quintana is Executive Director of Centro CHA, a nonprofit Hispanic Latino human and social service agency in Long Beach. Since 1992, Centro CHA has worked to create a record of service that advances and advocates for the well-being of underrepresented, low-income Latino children, youth, and families. For more information, visit centrocha.org. Again, that's centrocha.org. We're returning with our conversation with Jessica Quintana, Executive Director of Centro CHA. So before the break, we talked about a lot of things dealing with COVID-19. And as if that was not enough, these are, as you well know, very troubling times for social justice, or as some have called it, a reckoning. So with all the demonstrations and unrest, how do you see where we are in Long Beach? And what does it mean in the larger context of the work that you do?
Well, I mean, in the larger context of the work we do is again, is economic development. We know, again, economics plays a big role as to how well people are doing in their life, in their neighborhood, in their communities, in their health, in their social well-being. And so, I have to be honest, Antonio, I'm not shocked of what happened. It was just a matter of when it was going to happen. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. People are tired. They're tired of the burden of the economy, not being able to have opportunity to go to school. For any young person to be able to go to college, they would have to be a very privileged student. Unfortunately, people are not making that much money to be able to do that. Jobs, it's always if the good jobs, if you know somebody or you have a college degree, is how you're going to make that money. Unfortunately, for a lot of community members who are living in low-income communities and who have, challenges of going to college or getting degrees or knowing somebody who can get them that great job is highly unlikely. And so, people can only take so much. And then, with the whole racial, issues that that systemically has been happening for years, I mean, decades, within the systems, within our government system, within the education institution system, has definitely shut doors for a lot of people. There is not that opportunity. And, it's been blatant. People get it. They've gotten the message and they're tired of it. It's a different generation. Yeah. It's a different generation. It's, it's not the Cesar Chavez. It's not the, Martin Luther King, folks back in the day who would march in peace. This is different generations. They're not gonna do that.
And that's where the reckoning comes in, that people are just not willing to accept the old strategies, and
right.
And I can understand the frustration. So now the big talk is about distribution of dollars toward more social programs, and the irony of this is that if COVID-19 had not happened, I think this would have been an easier discussion. But now with from federal government to state to county to city, really hurting for dollars.
Right.
I'm just wondering, where's this money going to come from? I can't remember the number, but it was some over $50 billion deficit facing the state. And I'm just wondering, okay, we can reallocate. And if we can reallocate dollars, where do you think that money should go? What would be the first place that you would start to put money to balance out the whole issue of social justice?
Well, first of all, I mean, the justice would be is if they did come to the nonprofit organizations where they should be going to. Right. We heard that song and dance plenty of times when they, did the AB 109, when they closed down the prisons, the jail systems. Oh, we're reallocating and repurposing that money to the community-based organizations, because when folks get released from jail or prison, that's where they need to go to get the services. Well, unfortunately, those monies didn't come to our agencies. And so, they went back to the same system that incarcerated them in the first place. So, of course, we continue to see recidivism again. Nobody got help, so the trauma continued. And so here we are with the high need of trying to serve folks, because they're not going to those justice systems to be able to get that assistance. So that was money wasted and down the drain. And so now here we're seeing hearing the promises of this money that's going to be reallocated, repurposed to community-based organizations. Well, Antonio, until I see it, it's a great thing to say. I mean, it's a great commercial for these electeds, but until it actually happens, is when we can all, celebrate and be in the, in the news talking about it.
You're not optimistic that that's going to really happen. Well, first of all, I don't even know where they're going to get the money if we're all facing deficits. But if they could magically come up with money, the sheriff was talking about, LA County Sheriff was talking about something like letting go 1,000 staff. So I don't know where this money is going to magically come from, but even if it was there, you don't have a lot of optimism that's going to come to where it needs to go.
Well, let's look about. Okay, so we had point in case. Probation Department, Los Angeles County, they had one of the largest budgets for prevention and intervention for youth, not to incarcerate youth. The challenge is some of the systems and the bureaucracies of these government agencies doesn't allow them to get that money out in a sufficient and timely manner. So, what are they going to do by already having history, replay itself, already knowing that challenge with probation, having this large budget for years and years, not being able to get that out and really do prevention and intervention, but yet they can incarcerate youth all day long. So most recently now they've closed down all their youth camps. So now they understand we can't incarcerate our way out of it. So now, now they're saying, okay, we need to work with community-based organizations so they can be out there doing the youth development, the intervention and the prevention, and really transforming our communities, our neighborhoods, and the homes where these young people live. But when they wanted to do that, their system within their own government didn't allow them to subcontract with these organizations because of their policies. So what we've seen is those dollars had to go to community foundations. So the dollars were sent to community foundations, therefore to now subcontract with community-based organizations. So if you can imagine what that process looked like to even do that. So knowing that now, let's see how quickly, they're saying the state can get monies out to these nonprofit organizations. Because being a nonprofit organization and understanding what the process is like to get a grant, that's going to be something to see. I've yet to see it. And how is that equally going to be distributed to all the different community-based organizations and populations that are most impacted by, violence, by incarceration, by economic insecurity of our young African-American and Latino communities? Yeah. And how is that going to be distributed in an equitable way?
So you recently posted a fundraiser for Centro CHA associated with your birthday. Talk a little bit about the fundraiser.
So the fundraiser, this was the first launch of our fundraiser for our campaign for our building. And as you know, Antonio, the organization has been doing services for the city of Long Beach for over 20 years. We've been providing vital economic development and immigration services and youth development services in the neighborhoods that are the most neediest in the city of Long Beach. Park programs, art programs, job training, family development, parenting. The organization has done it all in the past 20 years. we've also had to move within those 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
We've moved several times, at least about 5. And as an organization who's a rooted agency who has a lot of trust within our community, that's very difficult for an agency to move and have to disrupt our operations. And so, best practices for an organization to be able to anchor to a community where they can do their services is to invest by purchasing their own property. And so that's one of the things that we're doing as an agency right now. We're investing in our community by purchasing property in the community. So one of the properties that we're looking at is located in Central Long Beach, which is convenient for folks to get to from the west side of Long Beach, from the east side of Long Beach, from Central Long Beach, which is on a major Atlantic corridor. And so that way, we wouldn't have to move anywhere. We can continue to grow our operations and provide economic development. So the building that we're looking at is, needs a lot of tender loving care. It's a 15,000 square foot space, and it has 2 empty parcels, but the building itself is basically a shell. The inside of the building is, needs work. It's been the inside has all been like taken down. And yeah. So we've, gone through a space planning and really looked at, how are we going to design this building? We know the building is going to be over $3 million to develop. Wow. And so what I wanted to do, because it was my 60th birthday.
Oh, you youngster, you.
I know. Like, what? 60? When did that happen in a blink of an eye? My daughter's 43, and I'm just like, okay, Marcy, how did I turn 60? Because, me and you are the same age. I don't know what happened. But, yeah, so we're I just wanted to launch, the birthday, the campaign through my birthday being 60 years old, and just start, the ball there. Yeah. Of course, the building is going to be about $3.5 million to develop. We're looking at not only doing outreach and a fun campaign, with my family and friends. That's just how we started it. Right. But I will be going to foundations, to corporations, to the Economic Development Agency at the federal level, to our different elected offices, in the county and in the state, and asking them for contribution to our workforce center. We're going to continue to do our work to do the economic recovery for our families and for our residents here. It's needed more than ever. We didn't anticipate this happening during this time, but we know that more than ever, our building is going to be important to be a standing place that's anchored to the community, so we can continue to provide economic development and economic relief during this time.
Well, let's hope that this will be the last time you move, because I know since I've known you, you've moved a few times. Jessica, thank you very much. I'll make sure that we put the link on the website, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us on PalacioMagazine.com.
Well, thank you, Antonio, so much, and thank you to you and Sumi for making a contribution to our campaign. We truly appreciate that, and to all my family and friends who also made a donation. I think we're up to like almost going to 5,000 now.
Let's see if we can push that up a little further. Again,
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio.